This video illustrates how I was able to increase the mode time of my Landroid WR140 from roughly 2.5 hours before recharge to 7.5 hours before recharge. Before getting started, I would like everyone who views this to read my disclaimer. Once convinced that my new Landroid WR140 was going to do an acceptable lawn mowing job, I became frustrated that its battery life was only 2.5 hours. And after that, it was forced to stop mowing and recharge for 90 minutes before it could cut again. Now, since the Model 1 WR140 has a flat-like shelf rear cover, 2 more Landroid batteries could be mounted here, which would give it 3 times or 7.5 hours of continuous mow time. This picture shows the flat-like shelf on the rear cover of a Landroid 140. I have at this point only been beta testing the idea with a single battery, but there is clearly room for another next to it. It is far easier to make electrical connections using the original battery that comes with the Landroid than by invading the wiring of the Landroid itself. In this way, if the Landroid should need in-warranty repair, the original battery could be unplugged and removed with another battery uninvaded in its place. Here is a view of the original Landroid battery with its 6 screws marked in yellow having been removed. In order to remove these 6 screws, a star bit or screwdriver had to be used. This is the view of the battery once the cover has been removed. There are 3 wires that must be added. In this view, I used a black wire for the negative connection, which is soldered to the tab of the battery at the bottom, a blue wire for the VCC connection, which had to be made on the actual clip joint, and a red insulated wire used for the positive connection to the battery. Again, these are all soldered in place. Here, the battery has been closed and 2 holes drilled in the ends so that the wires, the additional wires that have been added, can exit. Now, it wouldn't be necessary to have 2 holes. 1 hole large enough would do. And the other point to make is that the holes need to be in the general area shown so that the battery can be inserted and plugged in as normal, and the wires will reach up to the lid and join with the other 2 batteries on top of the lid. In this view, the original battery, now with the additional wires added, is inserted into its slot under the liftable cover. and the wires extend up through a hole in that cover, a small hole, and will join with the additional 2 batteries added. In order to preserve the plug-in idea from for the 2 batteries on the rear shelf of the Landroid, I had to purchase 2 battery chargers, rather inexpensive chargers, and strip them of their circuit board. Then I soldered in the other ends of the 3 wires that came from the original battery. So the center view shows the soldered in 3 wires, and the right view shows the total connector once it was closed, the 2 halves. Unfortunately, the underside of the battery connector had an indented area that did not allow it to really expose much flat surface for connection to the back of the Landroid. So I had some epoxy wood filler around, and I just simply filled in that indented area, as can be seen on the right bottom. And the right top just shows the way it looked before it was filled. Then I used extra strong Velcro in order to attach the battery connectors or holders to the rear shelf of the Landroid. Here, the 2 battery holders are seen on the back rear shelf area where they have been velcroed in place. Additionally, the wires coming from the original battery split and go to each of the 2 battery holders. Then on the back of the Landroid, you can see the 2 batteries that will eventually be plugged in. Here is a view of the Landroid with the 2 batteries plugged in to the rear shelf. I had to use a rubber sheet held magnetically in place in order to prevent the weather, mud, and etc. from reaching the 2 batteries on the rear shelf. After operating for some time, here's a view of the Landroid, of my Landroid, with the rubber sheet closed over the 2 additional batteries. As stated before, the unit now gets around 7.5 hours of continuous operating time, rather than the 2.5 that originally came with the single battery Landroid. Thank you for watching. Comments are welcome.